I wanted to do a book review on a book that I read yesterday. It's a health book and it was called Take Care of Yourself. So I give it a 10-star out of 10 review. I thought it was very on point, very accurate. It gave me a lot of good information. So I'm just going to kind of give you a kind of a summary of the topics that it covered. So it's the first thing that it talks about is it talked about different things that can happen around the house, such as drowning, accidental poisoning, falls, things like that. There's also a section, there's like a lot of informative, very helpful sections and diagrams. So it has a list of some of the vitamins and the benefits of it, and then it talks about aspirin. It also talks about hydrogen peroxide, and there is like a little paragraph under it, and I remember because it told me hydrogen peroxide is good for cleaning, but it stains your hair and your clothes, so that's good to know. And then it talked about good nutrition, pregnancy, getting a good night's sleep. Oh, like for example, there's a paragraph under the good night's sleep, and it was talking about, they said that you can actually have a snack before you go to bed, but I remember specifically it said in there, do not eat a big meal within 2 hours of going to bed. Then it also talked about weight management and, food, and it said it was talking about also getting a good night's sleep, and it said before you go to bed, don't have caffeine, chocolate or tea or soda or anything like that. And then it was talking about, so I thought that was, kind of helpful to get a good night's sleep. And then they were talking about weight control, and I thought it was really interesting because, they did make a good point in the book, and they said that that's why so many people are overweight, is because, it's actually kind of hard, because to maintain your weight, you really have to, exercise and, eating good, nutritious foods. That is something that you have to control. You have to work at it, every single day. And that's why it's not uncommon for people to gain 20, 30 pounds, because it's actually pretty easy. It actually takes a lot of effort to kind of keep that weight off. And it just says, the importance of making sure that you're eating plenty of fruits and vegetables, that you have plenty of, supplements in your diet. And then it was talking about weight control and exercise. So they have a few pages on that. And they taught me an interesting fact. They said that 3,500 calories is equal to 1 pound. Then, so I'm going to talk to you about my 3 favorite sections that in the book. So first of all, they also go into, broken bones and joints and arthritis and things like that. They talk a little bit about osteoporosis, and they said that, osteoporosis usually affects older people, people that are older than my parents, because my parents are in their 60s right now, and they're retired, so, this is usually something that affects, older people that are older than my parents with their bones. And then I'm going to kind of cover my favorite sections that the book talked about. In the middle of the book, it kind of goes into moods and how to be happy on an emotional level, and they talk about depression, and they said that technically speaking, what defines depression is if you are sad or in your a bad mood more than half of the time, or you have emotional problems, that can be depression. And then they talked about, there's a section toward the end of the book, which was my second favorite, because I thought it was personally the most interesting. They talked about sex. They gave a diagram and kind of like a chart about different sexually transmitted diseases. They gave the symptoms of each one, and then they gave what it can do to your body. And then they explained about, which, because they have a paragraph in there that they say it's not what you it's not who you are, but what you do that increase your chance of getting a sexually transmitted disease. And then they do put, some behaviors about which increase your risk of catching sexually transmitted disease. So they said that if you're gay, then there is more of a risk. And then they said, having sex with absolutely complete strangers whom you don't even know, like if you have a one-night stand or something like that and you have absolutely no clue who this person is, that's obviously increasing your chances of catching a sexually transmitted disease. Because they said casual, they have the phrase that they use, the quote in there is casual sex, whether gay or straight. So they, talked about condoms and everything like that. So casual sex, anal sex, and then if you're having sex with a prostitute, that's of course the big way to catch a sexually transmitted disease. So they go, and they talk about condoms and stuff like that. So that was about casual sex. And then after that, they had a section. So this is also my third favorite one, which I thought was a very interesting. So they talk about smoking, drugs, and alcohol. And they talk about, cigarette smoking and cancer and how it can have, terrible effects on your health. Throat cancer, lung cancer, and tongue, cut out part of your tongue, cut, your lips off, get your cancer in your lips and everything. So they kind of go over the problems with smoking. And then they go into alcoholism, and they, a really important part, because they did say in the book, they said that you can, you can cover up your problems with alcohol, and a lot of people do that, but they said in the book, that's why it's not a good idea, because it doesn't fix the problem, it just covers it up, and it actually technically makes it worse because it doesn't actually get rid of the problem, so you still kind of have a problem there. And then they kind of have the, health risks of alcohol, and they said that it's really bad because it will help it so you do not get a good night's sleep. And then they kind of listed, they have a couple bulleted lists, and then they said, the warning signs of becoming an alcoholic. And then they had a couple of numbers, down there, a couple of hotlines that you can call if you think that you have a problem with alcohol. So that was the book that I read. And I read it yesterday, so I just wanted to do a book review about it, and it's called Take Care of Yourself, and it's a health book, and I absolutely loved it. I think that you really have to look into it and read it. You might learn something, and I know I did. I give it a 100% review because I don't know who would not like it. It's something that it's, health and everything, and it can really help you. If you take a look at the book, it can really help you learn to live a good lifestyle.